This is Richard from Cluewood Engineering. Today we are going through the initial startup and throttle body synchronization using PMO throttle bodies with the Tech 3 engine management system. This is a 2.7 liter 911 engine with the early S cams, twin plug, and 46 millimeter throttle bodies. Engine management is Tech 3R from Electromotive, and our basic starting file that we provide with each system that is purchased. The engine is cold, showing actual startup conditions for this procedure. The throttle body installation instructions on our website have gotten us this far along in our project. The throttle plates are set at 3/4 of a turn. That's the stop screw right there on each throttle. And all the air bypass screws down at the base of the throttles are all set fully closed on the seats and locked in place. You will need a synchrometer, a 7 millimeter and 8 millimeter wrench, and a small screwdriver to do this procedure. I'm going to go through the basic procedure because once I start the engine, you probably will not be able to hear me. Once we start it and establish an idle, you may need to adjust your mixture so that it's not asphyxiating you in the process of doing this, and also making it right so that it will run. Once it's running, we will disconnect one throttle link. Just pull it off like that. And we will take the synchrometer and we will measure the flow on one side, and then we'll set the flow on the other side. And we will adjust the stop screws as needed for the desired idle speed and balance on the flow meter. Once we have an idle where both of these are very close, now we will go down and just verify 1, 2, and 3 on this side. Verify that the flow on all 3 of these are the same. If they're not, we will pick the one that is the lowest or the highest flow, and we will open the air bypass screws on the other 1 or 2 cylinders as required to make them balance. Then we will do the same on the opposite side. We'll verify flow on each of these, and then we will set the stop screws or the air bypass screws if needed. By that time, we will have a little bit of temperature in the engine. It should idle nicely, and we should be able to bring the idle speed down a little bit. When the engine's cold, it's not going to idle at quite the speed you may want later on. Come back, verify that both sides are flowing the same amount. And we're going to adjust these screws one more time and set our idle speed. Once that's done, we will put our linkage back on and bring the engine speed up so that we're tensioning both sides equally, and then we will adjust the stop screw here as needed to check flow on both sides again. So, with that in mind, I'm going to start it up right now, and we'll see how this works. hear me, we're doing pretty well so far. Just hear the idle speed pick up a little bit as it first starts up and runs. I don't know if you can see it or not on the engine monitor. We're showing a head temp sensor right here of 29 degrees C, so the engine is cold. Bring that one down just a little bit to pass. So those two both match now. Just verify that what we had was good. Running a little bit rich, so I'm going to lean this out. Too far. There, we're good. That brought us up to about 13 to 1 AFR, 13 and a quarter to 1. Okay, now we're going to set this at 5.5. 5.5. That one's only about 5 and a quarter. The other two match beautifully at 5.5. Average about 5. And that one's also about 5. So just for expediency right now, actually that's not bad for individual throttles with this flow meter. I will adjust those air bypass screws a little bit, but they're so close right now that I'm not going to do it just this minute. Let's go on to the next step, and that is to put the throttle linkage back on. And now I'm going to pick the engine speed up and check both sides for balance. Now we have a little bit of oil on the exhaust, so the smoke has started coming out with the heat, but that's essentially the setup. We've got balance on the stop screws, We've got balance with our linkage. If you noticed, I had my finger in here just to help hold it stable, so I could check side to side. And from here, we also want to verify that the stop on the throttle arms both come down and hit on the throttle body for the throttle stop, indicating wide open throttle. That needs to balance also. That's about it. That's when the engine's run, brought up to full temperature, the idle may pick up another 50 or 75 RPM. And if you want to drop it back down, take the flow meter, adjust your stop screws, and make sure they're balanced. Basically the same procedure that we just went through. I think that about does it. I'm going to give it one last start just to see how it starts up. That about does it for this video. As you can see, we do have a little bit more, we've got more tuning to do as far as the software is concerned, but the throttles are set so you can start to do the finished tuning on your engine. Thank you for being with us today, and we look forward to talking to you. Again, this is Richard at Cluewood Engineering.